economy, abortion, the border, issues that matter to you. AZ's On the Fence. Now here's your host, Drew Grunwald.
And welcome to AZ's On the Fence. I'm your host, Drew Grunwald. We have a very interesting show this week. Got a couple of guests. They're going to be joining us here in just a minute. But before they join us, I really want to talk about what's been going on this week, both nationally here in our country and even locally. Some historic events have taken place. Unless you're living under a rock, I'm sure you've heard about the guilty verdicts of both former President Trump and President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. I want to summarize that a little bit for you today, just in case you haven't heard. This is something I put together really without spin. It's supposed to be nonpartisan, and I really just kind of want to discuss the facts of the case and let you guys decide. That's what AZ's On the Fence is all about. We put the information out there, and we let you, the listener, decide how you want to feel about it. So let's talk about the guilty verdict for Trump. And it breaks down like this. So after a lengthy trial in New York, former President Trump was found guilty on multiple counts related to financial misconduct and fraud. The charges stemmed from an investigation into Trump's business dealings, including allegations of tax evasion, bank fraud, and falsifications of financial records. What they were able to get from that, the prosecution was able to present a compelling evidence, including testimony from key witnesses, documents, audio recordings, and such, where Trump's involvement in illegal activities, and I'm sure you've heard the phrase, it was a hush money trial. He paid somebody to supposedly avoid maybe some embarrassment. A non-disclosure agreement, an NDA was signed, and some money was paid to the individual to stay quiet. In a landmark verdict, a jury unanimously found Trump guilty on all counts, and the announcement of the verdict was met with mixed reactions, as you can imagine, with supporters expressing disappointment and disbelief, while critics hailed it as a victory for justice and accountability. The guilty verdict carries significant legal consequences for Trump, including potential fines, restitution, and even imprisonment. It also has broader implications for his political future and the legacy of his presidency, as it marks one of the most high-profile convictions of a former U.S. president in history. As the legal process moves forward, there will likely be appeals and sentencing hearings, further shaping the aftermath of the historic verdict. Now, let's talk about the Hunter Biden verdict. So, a federal jury convicted Hunter Biden on all three federal felony gun charges he faced, concluding that he violated laws meant to prevent drug addicts from owning firearms. The conviction marks the first time a president's immediate family member has been found guilty of a crime during their father's term in office, though his crimes predate Joe Biden's tenure as president. The jury, which deliberated for just under 3 hours, returned guilty verdicts on all three charges, which stemmed from a revolver that Hunter bought on October of 2018 in a Delaware gun shop. The charges were, the first two counts were for lying about his drug use on a federal background check form, and the third count was for possessing a gun while addicted to or using illegal drugs. The judge said sentencing is usually set for 120 days following a verdict, so Hunter Biden could face up to 25 years in prison and a fine, up to $750,000 at sentencing, though he is likely to receive far less as a first-time offender. According to Hunter Biden, following the verdict, Hunter said that he's more grateful for the love and support of his family than he is disappointed by the outcome. And his attorney, Abe Lowell, said that they will continue to vigorously pursue all the legal challenges available to him. Joe Biden, in a statement, the president reiterated his role as a father, seeking to support his son after the conviction. And as he said last week, he is the president. He's also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today, he said. Inside the deliberation room, when deliberations first began on Monday afternoon, the jury was split. And eventually, all of the jurors did come to a unanimous verdict, and there were, I guess, 3 jurors who spoke to CNN afterwards, and they believed they had no choice but to find Hunter Biden guilty. It seemed like a waste of taxpayer dollars. The guilty verdict came, and it raises questions I don't know if it raises questions about the Biden family business, but Hunter's laptop, which has been spoken about for many, many years, has now been entered into the court records as real and viable. And on that laptop, there are indications of other significant dealings that I believe the Biden family is going to have to answer to at some point. We'll find out when that might be. But a lot of this sounds like something you may have heard recently thrown around called lawfare. And I wanted to dive into what lawfare is a little bit and talk about that. And in my research, we break it down pretty simply, where lawfare refers to the use of legal systems and legal mechanisms as a means of achieving political objectives. It encompasses a wide range of activities, including litigation, legal advocacy, and the manipulation of legal processes for strategic purposes. Lawfare can be employed by governments, individuals, or organizations to advance their interests, undermine opponents, or shape public opinion. And here's how lawfare can be used. Litigation. Parties may engage in strategic litigation to achieve political or policy goals. It could involve suing government agencies or officials to challenge laws or policies, or filing lawsuits against adversaries with the intention of draining their resources or distracting them from other activities. Some other uses for lawfare could be legal advocacy. Lawfare often involves using legal arguments and advocacy to influence public opinion or shape policy debates. This could include publishing legal opinions, articles, or reports to support a particular viewpoint or agenda. There's also lawfare in international law or human rights. There's lawfare as defensive measures. Lawfare can be used defensively to protect against legal threats or challenges. It might involve preemptively filing lawsuits or legal complaints to deter adversaries from taking legal action or engaging in legal strategies to mitigate potential legal risks or liabilities. And one of the biggest reactions or uses for lawfare is the media and public relations. Lawfare is often intersects with media and public relations strategies, with parties using legal processes and outcomes to shape public narratives or influence public opinion. If anything that's happened this week, if this sounds like anything that may have happened this week, we definitely could be looking at something like lawfare against both the former President Trump, current President Biden's son Hunter, and right here locally in Arizona, we have some interesting legal actions that are going on. Most recently, Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays indicted 11 people who are accused of interfering with the 2020 election results. One of those 11 is Senator Anthony Kern, and he was indicted as a fake elector. In a significant development, Arizona Senator Anthony Kern was indicted for his alleged involvement in submitting false electoral documents during the 2020 presidential election. Kern, who has served as a Republican member of the Arizona State Senate, faces charges related to his role as a fake elector in the aftermath of the election. The indictment alleges that Kern unlawfully participated in the submission of false electoral certificates, falsely claiming to be an elector representing Arizona's electoral votes for then-President Donald Trump. And these actions were part of a broader efforts by some individuals and groups to challenge the legitimacy of the election results and undermine the democratic process. Kern's indictment underscores the seriousness of attempts to manipulate electoral outcomes and the legal consequences for those involved in such schemes. It also highlights the ongoing controversy surrounding the 2020 election and the efforts by some to perpetuate baseless claims of voter fraud. As the legal process unfolds, Kern will likely face scrutiny over his alleged actions and may potentially face significant penalties if found guilty. Now, fortunately for Arizona's On the Fence listeners, I have interviewed Senator Kern in a previous show, and we will be speaking with him in just a few minutes to specifically discuss this indictment and what it means for his campaign, the election, and for him personally. Also on the show, we will switch gears and get local with Linda Milhaven. She's running for Scottsdale mayor. Linda has been involved in her community for over 30 years and has served as Scottsdale councilwoman for over 12 years. She knows Scottsdale and wants to serve her community and the city that she dearly loves. I want to thank everyone for listening today, and we are sure to have a very interesting and informative show. So stay tuned, and when we get back from the break, we will have Senator Kern and we'll get his thoughts on the recent indictment from Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays. We'll be right back after the break.
At A2 Luxury Real Estate, we're not your typical real estate agents. We're appraisers, finance professionals, and savvy real estate investors. Whether it's determining the right selling price, connecting you with local and global buyers, or guiding you through all aspects of the sale, we are your partners every step of the way. We're passionate about real estate, and we know luxury. The pinnacle of luxury starts with A2 Luxury Real Estate. Visit us at a2luxre.com or call 602-888-1433. Realty One Group.
And welcome to AZ's On the Fence. I'm your host, Drew Grunwald. Joining me this segment is Senator Anthony Kern, representing Legislative District 27 here in Arizona, but he's currently running for Congressional District 8 to become Arizona's representative for us in Washington, D.C. Thank you for joining the show, Senator Kern, and there's been some very interesting news as of late. An indictment for being a fake elector and some things like that. I'd really like to just turn it over to you and have you explain to the listeners kind of what's going on and where you stand on the indictment.
Sure. Thanks, Drew, for having me on, and to all your listeners for listening to the show. So, yeah, yesterday, as many of you know out there, the 11 electors in the 2020 election for Donald Trump, plus you had a few people from the Donald Trump campaign be indicted, and we had to appear yesterday for arraignment and had to do, a lot of us have done our mugshots at the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. So you got to ask yourself some of the questions that I've asked myself. Number one is when you look across the nation and the states that have had the Trump electors, a lot of them have basically pled, I guess, guilty, but nobody has went to jail. And so I was asked by a reporter, well, aren't you worried that somebody's going to plead guilty to, to these charges, which are 9 felonies that we supposedly, committed? And I told the reporter, plead guilty to what? What did any one of those electors plead? Why did they plead guilty? I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to put fear in us. They're trying to look at the landscape of our finances and the power that they have at the Attorney General's office. And, it scares some people, and they're just going to you saw it in Georgia. People are just going to, plead because they don't want to go through the process of, you're innocent until proven guilty, which I'm innocent, everybody else is innocent. So I think that's their tactic. Here we are 4 years later from the 2020 election, and we are 6 months prior to the 2024 election, and you have Attorney General Chris Mays doing basically a politically motivated stunt to appease her base and file these charges on us electors. So it is all politically motivated. We are vehemently going to be looking at the anti-SLAPP laws in Arizona, and I'm innocent, and that's why I pled not guilty, and that's why all of us pled not guilty yesterday, because we're innocent. It is an investigation. I do have a lawyer. So but there's nothing, nothing out there that I have to hide, because we went in there. If you remember the 2020 election, I still believe it was stolen. I still believe that the Democrat Party hate Trump so much that they did everything they could to bypass the state legislatures. And even here in Arizona, over half the state was very, very concerned about what was happening. Many of us remember at what 7:05, Fox News called Arizona. I mean, we hadn't even finished voting yet. People were still standing in line, and they called it. And then, if you remember, the Secretary of State, never done before that I know of, has shut down the Secretary of State's office when Trump was leading, and boom, she opens it back up, and here Biden's in the lead. So we've got to protect our sanctity to vote, our right to vote. People have given their lives for that sacred right, and I refuse to let the Democrat Party intimidate me. Uh, they can do whatever they want, but I can tell you this: we get Trump back in office, he will turn this around, and you're going to have fighters like me representing Congressional District 8 in Washington that will be right with him to turn our country around and get it back on track.
That's a couple of questions for you. How many total have been indicted, basically for the same 9 felony accounts? How many of you total? 11?
Well, there's 11 Trump electors, and the Trump electors are appointed. I'll give you a little civics lesson if you don't mind for
Go
your
ahead.
listeners. So the Trump electors every year are appointed by the state GOP chair or the state DNC chair. They're appointed, and then when you're actually voting on your ballot for President Trump or Biden, you're not really voting for them. You're voting for the 11 electors that Arizona has put up. It's a process. It's a formal process to be put on that ballot. It's a certification by the Secretary of State, and so when you're voting, if you notice, like under President Trump in the 2020 election, all 11 of our names were under President Trump, and those were really who you're voting for. And then there's a date in December, I believe it's the 14th. Don't quote me on that, but it's mid December, where the electors are actually appointed by the vice president and the Congress, actually, and so that's the actual finalization of the presidential race. So it's not necessarily the one who gets the most votes nationally. It's the electors that are appointed by Congress. And so in the 2020 election, which has been done before, there's precedent been set, dual sets of electors. So it's been done before. When the Democrats do it, the news media calls it dual electors. When the Republicans do it, it's called fake electors. And so, uh, it's just a lot of it's a lie, and a lot of it is just a sham. And we've got some rowdy people out here that are, if they come over here, I'll have to move to a different location. But
Nice.
anyway, so I'm at the state Senate right now, and they're voting on the border security bill. So the bottom line is we both parties sent in electors to Congress, and we were hoping that they would, send the votes back to the state, and the states would do an audit on their election, and and just go from there.
Sure.
So that's what we were hoping. That Vice President Pence would have sent it back to the states, and that didn't happen, as we all know.
So the question I have, the 11 of you who've been indicted as the Trump electors, are you all being represented by the same attorney, by individual attorneys? Are you all fighting this individually, or have you come together? Are you fighting this as a group?
Well, we've all got attorneys, but all the attorneys are working together.
Okay.
And the reason for different attorneys is the attorneys felt that there might be like a conflict, of interest or down the road, so they didn't want to put themselves kind of in jeopardy, put the whole case in jeopardy, should something arise. And so we all decided to get our own attorneys.
Okay. And it sounds like as of yesterday or maybe today, there was an ethics complaint. It sounds like they would
Oh
like
yeah.
you to step aside while this case is being investigated or heard. Tell us what's going on with that.
Yeah. So that's just a typical Democrat ploy, to gain media attention. What that was is Senator Brian Fernandez, who is one of the senators that would love to abort a baby at 9 months in the womb, tear it apart, and just call it, make money off the body parts. Or he's pushed legislation here to basically fund a governor's mansion for Katie Hobbs at taxpayer expense. So, he saw an opportunity to try to oust us from the chairmanships that I have down here. So I'm only speaking for myself. I'm the chair of the Judiciary Committee, and so he filed an ethics complaint that they think the Democrat Party thinks I should be removed from chairmanship because I'm in their eyes I'm guilty until proven innocent, and that is definitely not the American way. It's always innocent until proven guilty, but in the Democrats' eyes, you're guilty until proven innocent. So.
Understood. And for those
Yeah.
people who are interested in learning more about your campaign and following, maybe wanting to donate, what are your social media and website addresses so people can find you and follow you?
Yeah, thank you, Drew. So my social media is, my website, first of all, is Kern for Congress. That's KERNFOR Congress.com. Or you can also get there at votekern.com, VOTEKERN.com. My Twitter account is at Anthony Kern AZ. Instagram is Kern for AZ. Facebook is Vote Kern. So we do need finances to continue this campaign going. We've got one of the things I have, Drew, that the other opponents don't have is a lot of volunteer grassroots people doing everything. They're just fantastic. None of them get paid. I've got 120 volunteers. They're knocking on doors. They're writing letters. They're calling people. I mean, it's phenomenal. I've always had that in my political world, and that's because I am true. I am the person you're going to get. I don't do the charades. I don't do the speaking in front of a group and tell them what they want to hear. I'm a Bible believing Christian conservative that understands our nation. Number one, needs to turn back to God. Number two, it needs to move forward in election integrity and securing our borders and all that. And we've got to quit the uniparty system because really it's a mess, and it's a system where it's all about money and power. And you need people in Washington, D.C., similar to President Trump, like myself, that are not going to go there and be, oohed and awed by the lobbyists, because I'm going there, I'm on a mission, and that's to turn our country around. That's to, bring our Constitution back in politics and do everything I can to downsize the federal government, disarm the FBI and the DOJ, and just fight for the average, ordinary American.
Well, we love to hear that. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. I believe we all want our representatives to be either at the state or the federal level representing the people that voted them in that position. So
absolutely,
certainly appreciate 100%. You
America first,
on the show and giving us an update. Google Anthony Kern, Senator Anthony Kern, and follow him any way you can, and support if you like. And make sure you tune in to AZ's On the Fence, your host Drew Grunwald, on Sundays, 9 a.m., KFNN 1510 AM and 105.3 FM.
Thank you so much, Drew.
All righty. Have a great day.
You too.